And we are live. Good morning, everyone. It's time for Saturday morning in the kitchen for 2023. Woohoo! So, we've got a lot to do this morning, and we're going to have a good time. We're going to stay right here until we get it all finished up because we've got a little bit to do. So, I am going to bring you in, and I'll come back and talk to you a little later on, but I'm going to bring you down so that you can see what we're working on. So we're starting here in the bowl. Now in the bowl, I have some flour, some cornmeal. I've put in baking soda. I'll put all the recipe down below. But this is for the Southern cornbread. And I actually have a video where I prepared the Southern cornbread because we're going to need that, but I want that to cook while we're fixing our chowder today. And I'm so glad to have you all. It's pretty chilly this morning, not nearly as chilly as it was. Good morning, not nearly as chilly as it was for Christmas, but you know, it's still cold. Now, in the center of this bowl, I'm going to add in a 1/4 cup of sugar. And you know, if you don't like sugar in your cornbread, you can certainly leave it out or cut back on the amount of sugar that you want to use, whatever kind of sugar that you like, whether you're using, some people even throw in brown sugar just to make sure that they want that molasses flavor, but I don't like that in my cornbread. So now in this bowl, I'm going to crack 1 egg. So let's get that in, and I'm going to give that a little beat, get that all whipped up, and then we'll get it into the well of our cornbread. And we're doing this first because I know it's got to bake. So while it's baking, we'll work on everything else. So there we go. We got our egg in. And I'll sit that over. Let's see, we got the egg, we got the milk. We need about a 1/4 cup of vegetable oil. And this is just a neutral oil. Sometimes, depending upon what I'm serving the cornbread with, I may sometimes use olive oil, but I'm not using that today. I'm just using a regular vegetable oil. So I'm adding in about a 1/4 cup of the vegetable oil. And so glad to see all of you this morning. Good morning, good morning. And we're going to get this mixed up. I'm going to start with the whisk because most of this we really should be able to mix up without needing anything else once we get the milk in. And today I'm using buttermilk, but if you don't have any buttermilk, then just use regular milk and you'll be good to go. So we got it nice and mixed in there. So let me get that buttermilk in. I'm gonna actually put this off to the side for the moment, and I'm going to start. Never pour all of your milk in at one time because you want to see how much you're going to need. Sometimes you need a lot, sometimes you don't. It just depends on the flour and the cornmeal. Sometimes they're a little drier than others, and I can see I'm probably going to need most of this. I'm going to throw that in, and there we go. We want almost kind of a cake-like batter. So, you know, you have to just keep mixing until you get it to that point. So we're mixing and getting that going. How are you? How are you? Everybody doing okay? And if you get recouped from the holiday, and some of you I've had a chance to talk to, and some of you haven't, but that's okay. And I am certainly enjoying being back in the routine of being able to see you guys and have conversation. Now, this is pretty good. I've got a nice mix. It's almost like cake batter. I may add just a touch more of my buttermilk. And did I tell you the secret of buttermilk? Did you know once you purchase a container of buttermilk, now remember, buttermilk is a fermented product. And so once you purchase your buttermilk, as it starts to go down, refill it with regular milk. Let it sit out for about 24 hours, just out on your counter with the top on it, and then put it in the refrigerator, and you're good to go. So I'm gonna add just a little bit more. That was about a fourth cup more. So we're gonna put that in. And so my buttermilk has been around. It's been around, and if you do that, you can keep a container of buttermilk going all the time. So you're not constantly going out buying buttermilk. So I love that. I love that. And you can, when you shake it after that 24 hours, if your kitchen's extremely cold, you can actually leave it for 48 hours and let it continue to do what it needs to do on the inside. But, never, never, never think that if your buttermilk's low that you have to throw it out, because that is certainly not the case. Now, we're going to get a muffin pan, and we're going to put this into the muffin pan. Now, I have sprayed this muffin pan for the sake of time already. So I'm going to move that out of the way because we've taken care of that. I don't think I'm going to need that. And we are ready. I'm going to use a little ice cream scoop, and we're going to scoop our mixture into each of these muffin pans. That's just to kind of make sure you got about the same amount in each one, so they all look nice. So that's what I'm doing. I'm just making sure I have enough. The recipe is for this is supposed to fix at least 12, and you may have a little bit more or a little bit less sometimes, just depends on the flour and your mixture. So there we go. 3. I'm gonna have to wipe this off. I can see. And if you want to be very accurate, you can take a knife and kind of scrape across the top. Let's see, where am I? There we are. And put that into your muffin tin. So we're just going to get that going. Get these in a 400-degree oven until they're nice and golden brown. And we're going to test them with a toothpick to make sure that they're done. But because they're in a muffin tin, they really should cook pretty quickly and pretty evenly. So we're going to take care of that. I think, definitely we'll get our 12. And I may even go back and add a little extra into some of these as I look at it. Just want to make sure I have enough. So we're putting that in. This has been a great week. It was so wild. We had 70-degree weather this week, which is so unusual. And it's just up and down and up and down. That's what it's doing. And I don't know if your area is the same way, or if you're in a situation where the cold weather just seems like it won't let you go. You may certainly be in some of those locations, but even some of those locations have warmed up just slightly. Okay, now we've got a little bit left in here, so I'm just going to go through, and any one of these little tins, little muffins, that looks like it could stand just a little bit more, I'm going to add in, because I don't want to throw any of this away, because we're going to want this when it's time to eat our chowder. Now, this chowder, you can serve, of course, with corn muffins, or you can serve it with crackers. And we like both. And so most of the time, it just depends on what we have. If I have crackers, then we go with crackers. If we're out of crackers and I've got the fixings for muffins, then, which I almost always have. And once you buy your cornmeal and all those good things, you want to keep them in your freezer. Keep them in your freezer so they'll stay nice and fresh. Okay, so that's all gone. We got everything in there. Let's sit that over in that pan. And I'm gonna get a paper towel and we're going to put this into the oven. Now, so let me get that. Okay, got our paper towel and we're gonna get it wiped off, get the pan wiped off. Put you where you can see. It takes a minute. Okay, kind of reorganize here, regroup. All right, so I'm gonna take my paper towel and wipe things up, get it all good and clean off. You know, I love the sprays that we have for oil, the oil sprays, but you know, they can be kind of messy sometimes. So we really do need to kind of clean it up once you've gotten everything into your tin. Okay, so muffins, 400 degrees, into the oven until they're ready. We'll figure out how long that is. I think for the sake of my staying focused, I'm going to say we're going to leave them in the oven for, we'll check it at about 12 minutes and see where they are. Okay, now let's come over here and see if I can get you over here in the stove. There we go, there we go, there we go. And good spot. Now, in this pan, I have already fried. As you can see, I cooked some bacon, and I made sure it was nice and crispy. And the reason for that is because we want to, we're going to use this as a topping for our corn chowder. And so I'm going to chop that up after it cools off. But for right now, we're going to use all this goodness that is right here in our Dutch oven. So I'm going to start with one whole onion that I have diced very finely. And that's key. You want it to be very fine because you really don't want chunks of onion when people are eating. So I'm going to turn the fire up just a little bit. I think I got you going. And this is going to come up to temperature. Now, we need onion. We're also going to need some celery. And I've got the celery ready to go. And then I'm going to show you a product that we're going to use for this chowder. And I'm just now thinking, what do I do with those bottles of clam juice? I had those in my hand and I've sat them down somewhere. So we're going to have to find the clam juice. He's missing in action. Well, let's go over here and see if we can get that clam juice while we are waiting for our onion and celery to get softened. Okay. Oh, there they are. Okay, got them in the pantry. One, we might need two. I'm gonna pull two out, even though the recipe actually says you can do it with one. But if you like a little more seafoody taste, you may want to do two. But I always bring two just in case. You bring two, so you're ready. Now, let me show you the product. How many of you use Knorr's chicken bouillon? Use Knorr's chicken bouillon that you get in the little squares. Well, Knorr's, if you look in the international section, you are able to find a seafood bouillon. And sometimes you can find it at in the regular location, but sometimes you can't. So we're going to be using at least a cube of the seafood bouillon in this chowder because I want it to be nice and rich. Now, I've also diced up, I have the potatoes, and I'm thinking we're going to need about 5 potatoes, and these were really tiny. So what I did, I like my chowder creamy and so good. And so what I do is that I take half of the potatoes and I shred them. Can you see where I've shredded them? And then the other half of the potatoes have been diced because it is a chowder, so you're going to want some diced potatoes. So I've got half diced and half shredded. And I just thought about that. Let me. Okay, there we go. Start. Wanted to make sure we had our. Oh, didn't do it right. One. Okay, there we go. Start. So we can have that timer on, and we won't end up getting a little too focused over here and forget about our muffins. But I think we'll smell them anyway. So now we've got our bouillon here. We've got our potatoes here ready to go. We've got our clam chowder here, and you're going to need some half and half. Now, some people do it with regular milk, and that's fine, but half and half is going to give you a nice texture. At least put in a cup of half and half, even if you're going to use milk, because that will help to improve the texture. Now, once you start to add the half and half in, you're going to have to cut the heat back just a little bit because you do not want it to boil. So we're going to, let me get a spoon. In fact, I got a spurtle. And I'm going to give all of this a good stir because I want the celery and the onion to pick up all of the flavors from the bacon. So we got all of that going in the bottom of this pan. Now, if you have white pepper, I don't buy specialty pepper. I just use pepper. So I've got some black pepper. I'm just going to add in for the moment because you can always go back and add a little extra. I'm going to put in about a half teaspoon of pepper. And so because it's just the big guy and I that's going to eat this probably, then I know at this point he'll know what the pepper is. If you like for your chowder to have a little bit of kick, you got options. You can certainly throw in some Frank's hot sauce, or you can put in pepper flakes, red pepper flakes. And for this, just because I think the Frank's gives it a nice color, then we can certainly go ahead and add a little bit of Frank's later on, but not yet. Now, our onion and celery has gotten nice and they're clear and they're soft. So this is where we're going to start to add the rest of the goodness. So I'm going to start with our shredded potatoes because they're going to kind of cook down and get nice and soft. And they're going to give us that extra creamy texture that we're looking for. And of course, the top over here doesn't want to come off. If I want it to be that way, it wouldn't have. Now I'm going to drain some of this water off, but I don't want to lose it because it has a little bit of potato starch. And I keep potato starch because I like to use it when I'm baking bread. It gives your bread a nice texture. So, okay, we've got those potatoes. Here's our shredded ones. We're going to put those in. Give all that a stir. And I've got this set right now on about a 5, and we will cut it up because we're going to be cooking the potatoes. And once those potatoes are cooked, everything else comes together pretty quickly. So those are the shredded potatoes. Now, I won't say totally measure, but I am going to somewhat measure the cubed potatoes because I want them in there, but I just started cutting potatoes. I didn't worry about how many I had. because whatever's left over, you know, I'll use it for something else. So that's a half cup. And it says a total of about 2 cups of potatoes in the recipe. So I'm gonna give it one more scoop. Okay, there we go. Now we need about a cup of water. So I've actually got my half cup here. So I'm gonna take the water off the potatoes. There's a half. And there's a half. So that's about a cup that we've got in there. And you know, if we need to adjust the liquid later on, you can certainly do that. So we're going to turn this up because I want it to come to a boil. Now our timer is at about 5 minutes. And it's going to take a few minutes for all of this to start to boil. So I've got it up pretty high at this point because I don't want it to burn, so I have to focus. But I do want it to boil. Now I'm going to add 1 of the jars of clam juice. Because we're going to need that liquid to cook those potatoes. And oh yeah, that's going to give us a nice amount of liquid. Now the half and half is all about the creaminess and the texture. So we want this to come up to a boil. In order for that to happen quickly, we're going to have to put top on it. So I'm going to add 1 cube of the seafood bouillon into this because we want those potatoes to taste good. And sometimes you can find the seafood bouillon also in some of the Asian restaurants. So I'm just going to break it up a little bit. So because this was a cube rather than being the granulated that you get. So I'm going to break that so it will dissolve quickly into our liquid. Now, if you like obey or something like that, you can add a little bit of that in and give you a little extra seafood flavor. That's 1. And look at it. You kind of have to give it a little bit of a smell and see what you're getting there. Once all of that starts to, it changes, it gives it a nice color, nice pretty color. Okay, I'm thinking I have a half of a cube here, and I think I'm gonna go ahead and add that half rather than waste it. So I'm gonna put in 1.5 cubes. And like I said, if you don't find that, use chicken. You know, use chicken and just add in some obey or something like that to give you that seafoody flavor. Okay, so we've got 1.5 cubes of seafood bouillon. And remember, I'm almost sure I got my seafood bouillon. I know it was in the international aisle of Walmart. And but I have seen it at Kroger's. I've seen it at a couple of other grocery stores, and they were in the regular just bouillon section. So I guess it just depends on the grocery store as to where it's going to be located. Okay, so the cubes are in, and we've got one bottle of the clam juice. I'm gonna give this just a little taste. Oh, that's good. That's good. That tastes very good. And we know it hasn't even come to a boil yet. All right, so there we go. Now I'm going to peek at our muffins, see what they're doing down here. We'll put the top on this so it will come to a boil a little faster. Oh, they look so pretty. They're going to be good. All right, they have nice little muffin tops, which is going to make them nice and pretty. So let me see what we got going here. Oh, Ronnie said she doesn't use Knorr anymore because it has MSG. Okay, so the MSG gives you headaches. Okay, The farmista. Yes, you know, I happened upon farmista. I happened upon the seafood bouillon. We go to the Asian market a lot, and I happened to look around, and that's where I found it. And so I picked up a couple of boxes of it just because at that point I had never seen it again. But what it did, it made me start to look for it. And so when I went in the grocery, I looked in the international aisle, and that's where most of the time I find it. But like I said, I have been in Walmart, and just maybe about a month or so ago, and it was right there with the chicken. It had chicken. They had the of course, you know, with holidays coming, they had turkey, they had ham, they had all kinds of things. Okay, they look nice, but they are not ready. So I'm going to give them about, let's say, 5 more minutes and start. Okay, and then we'll check them again. Okay. Keep an eye out on it because you just never know. You never know what you'll find. And at each grocery store, you always find something different. So we've got our potatoes in. We've got our celery in. I can see that it's starting to boil. I need to center that pot just a little bit. And that's the only thing about gas stoves. You got to find the hot spot. So that's what we're going to do. We're going to find the hot spot and get it going. There we go. It's coming to a boil. I'm going to give it a little stir because, like I said, I do not want this to stick. And, you know, potatoes being as starchy as they are, they will stick. Now, if you like your chowder a little more liquidy, because I've told you before, the big guy loves soup, but he likes the juice. And so guess what I'm going to do? I'm going to add a little more juice to it. I'm not going to use the whole bottle. I'm just going to put in maybe half at this point, half more. And that's going to give him enough liquid because that's the part he likes. That's the part he likes. Even though we're going to add the half and half, we've got that in there. Our bacon is nice and crisp. So I'm actually going to take some scissors and we're going to cut up this bacon and so that it's ready once we start to put all of this together in the bowl. So I'm moving you just a little bit, adjusting. Now we have to adjust when we're in the kitchen. Sorry, guys. And get you right here. Okay, so those are our potatoes. We got that. And we find our scissors because I like to use scissors. All right, so I'm going to take my scissors, and certainly you can use your knife, but I'm just going to use my scissors and give them a little cut. Watch your fingers as you're doing it. There we go. And, you know, depends on the bacon as to just how crispy it might get. And if it's not as crispy as you like, put it in the microwave for another couple of seconds, and it will certainly crisp up very fast. Now, what I typically do is that I will cook an entire package of bacon, and so that I can use it throughout the week. When, you know, if I'm going to cook bacon, might as well cook it all. Cook that whole package rather than having it sitting around. And then that way you're more likely to use it because you know it's there. So I'm just clipping, making sure we don't have any gigantic pieces. I like the little, you know, we want them little. And there we go. Got all of that cut. Okay. I'm trying to focus here because I'm real good at forgetting and actually cutting my pan in the process sometimes. And especially if I get to talking and forget where I'm cutting, you know, I do that. I have to be honest. I have had moments. Sometimes, you know, there we go. Those are nice pieces. And then we can just do this. Just kind of go in and make sure. Do you have to have bacon as a topper? Of course not. And, but the bacon is going to make it awfully good. And certainly you want all the flavor when you're fixing your chowder. Now, I'm going to come over here. We're going to get some things while we're waiting for all of that to come up to temperature. Now, you know, we've got a place for everything. And I'm just going to stick some of these things in here. And let's talk about this week. What have you done fun this week? What have you done for you this week? Hopefully you've done something that you really enjoy. In addition to work, you know, we all have to work at something. So we're going to just get this into our dishwasher so we won't have so much. And I think that I'll do by hand. And the rest of this, put down here. Actually, I've got room enough to be able to put this in the dishwasher. Wasn't sure if I did. Put all this little stuff in there, and have that out of the way, because once we start to bring those muffins out, which we're going to do in just a few minutes, then we're going to need the space. All right, we've got things done. I'm going to get some things wiped off, and let's get back over here to our stove. Now, I tell you what, our pot is bubbling. It is really bubbling. And like I said, I'm going to check it out because I don't want it to stick. So let's get that top off. It is really going. And I'm okay with it having a good boil at this point, because once we start to add the cream and the clams, we're not going to let it boil anymore. Okay, let's see how our muffins are doing. You know, I think the tops need just a little browning, but I think the bottoms are ready. Let's see. Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah, they're nice and solid, but they can stay in there just a couple more minutes. A few more minutes, and we'll be good to go. All right, so our potatoes are bubbling. Get you a little closer. It's kind of fun being in the pot. All right, so we've got our potatoes bubbling in the clam juice, a little bit of water. We've got our onions, our celery, all of that is going. So I'm going to put this top back on for just a few minutes. And like I said, when the muffins come out, then we'll be ready to actually start to put the rest in. So I'm going to sit our bacon over on this side, on the opposite side of the stove, and we're going to get this. You'll notice I've got my cutting board here, and the reason for this, because that's what I was doing this morning. I did a lot of cutting. Now I've got some spring onions, and I just had a few, so I'm going to take those and just give them a little bit of a chop, so that the big guy likes the bacon and the spring onions on top of his chowder as a topping. So we're going to kind of get that cut up and put off to the side. Okay, so he's got his spring onions, and let's see, I need a little container here. See if I can do this without knocking you over. I think I can. All right, we got a little bowl. I'm going to put this in our bowl. take all those and just put those in. There we go. That's it. All right, so we've got all the toppings and the fixings. I'm gonna put that over there by the bacon. So when we're ready. So I'm gonna take this. I won't need to cut anymore. And we're going to get a wet soapy towel. And in fact, I'm gonna get my little spray here and just spray our area down a little bit and clean this off because we're gonna need to use it. And we want it clean. Rinse this towel. Go back there. You can stay. Get this over and empty all the little stuff that's in there. And everything's ready to go. Our bottle still has juice. This doesn't. So we're all cleaned up. Let's come over here so we can see what's going on in our pot. So there's our bubbling liquid. Ooh, yummy. I'm gonna take one of those potatoes and see. Oh yeah, he's breaking apart. That's good. So really, we're at that point. We're getting cold. Let's see how our little muffins are doing. Then we can decide at that point if we're ready to start adding the clam juice. They are lightly brown, and that's good. Now, we need the star of the show, and that's the clam. Now, I have a grocery store that I go to, and I can purchase clam meat. The clam meat in the bowl, in the bag, and let's see how much is in there. This has 1 pound of clams, and so I did not have to open up the shells and do all that part of the work. Now, so what we're going to do at this point, I'm going to turn the heat back. I'm going to put it down probably on a 3 because I want it to be at a simmer, but I don't want it to boil. So let's get that right there. Okay, take the top off, put it over there. This is bubbling. I'm going to measure out about a cup of our liquid. And these little cups are by Melacasa, and I can just add that in. So let me give our cream a good shake. So figure on the average, you're going to probably add about 2 cups of your cream. And like I said, I'm going to pull this off for just a moment so it can stop bubbling because I don't want our cream to split. Okay, it's nice and hot. I'm going to add in about a cup. That's the first cup. Now we will eventually come back and add more, but we won't do that until the end. So I'm going to take this, give it a good stir. And you can see it's starting to take on the look, that chowder look. And I'm actually going to turn the stove down to 2. I smell our muffins. Okay. So this is going to simmer. Now I'm going to get our clam meat. Now remember, you don't want to put the clam meat in too soon because we do not want those clams to get rubbery. Oh yeah, we're ready here, guys. Everything is going to be ready to come together. I can't believe. All right, we got our little muffins. Oh yeah. There they are. All right. Turn the oven off. Woo! And it won't be quite so warm. Okay, now I'm going to open this package. What did I do? Oh, there's the scissors we had a little while ago. So I'm going to get the top cut that off, get these opened, and figure on the average of at least, I'm thinking about a half a pound of clam meat. But if you want to use all of it, you can certainly do that. Most people use the canned clam because this is hard to find. And so we have, is it at one of our upscale, can't talk this morning, upscale stores, they carry the clam meat. And so this is the only place I know that I can go and get my clam meat. So I got the clam meat in, and I like it because, sometimes that you get in the store, in the cans, sometimes they're kind of cut up too much, but I like the meatiness of the actual clam meat. And I don't know about you, I don't have time to just sit and try to take the meat out of all the little shells. So that's the advantage of being able to do that. So look around at some of your upscale stores and see if you can find clam meat. And sometimes you'll happen upon it in some of the oddest places. So just see what you can find. And if you're in one of those seafoody places, then you got it. All right, so we've got this. I'm going to pull it up just a little bit because I do want to be able to see little bubbles around there. And I'm going to leave the top off. Hello, hello. I see some of you. Oh, you like clam chowder, Tamara? I do too. And certainly, I'm going to go ahead and put another cup of cream of half and half in this container, but I'm not going to pour it in yet until I know these clams are done. And I think I'll just put a half cup maybe in so that I don't want to over cream it, but I do want it nice and creamy. I don't know about you. And I'm going to get some of those Franks because I like just a little hit, not hot. And especially if you have children who like the clam chowder, but they may not like the heat. If you didn't start them, I'll put it this way, if they didn't start eating things with heat when they were babies, just because you were eating them, they ate them, you know how they do, then you're going to want to kind of be a little light, or wait until you get it in your bowl and then add the Franks. But I already know that we're going to be able to put the Franks into our clam chowder. And this is going to be ready to go. So I'm going to sit this right here. I'm going to get our Franks real quick. I know exactly where it is. And give it a good shake. The big guy, that commercial where it talks about you can put this on anything? Well, pretty much that's what the big guy likes to do. He loves his Franks. And I try not to buy the gigantic bottle just because it takes up too much space. But certainly we want to keep Franks on hand. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I've got 5 dashes in there. And that's going to be enough because while I like Franks, I don't want it hot. Not like that, not that spicy. So I've got a little bit of that in there. And you know what? That added the prettiest color to our chowder. I'm turning it up just a little bit because it's taking a little bit for it to come up. We need just a little bit of a bubble, not a lot. because we do not want to break the half and half. Now remember, we added pepper, and this is going to be so good. Now while this is starting to simmer, I've got spoons. Need to make sure our flavor's where we want it. Oh yeah, that cube and a half of the seafood bouillon is perfect. So think about a cube and a half of the chicken bouillon if you can't find the seafood bouillon. That's going to give you a good flavor. And 5 shakes was just enough. It gives you just a little hint of background, but it's not spicy. It is not like hot. So I don't want that. And you know, some people even put red pepper flakes in theirs. I did not. And or they'll use just a pinch of cayenne in there. I did not, because I want to be able, each person who's eating, I want them to be able to control the heat level. Everybody can't handle heat. So I can see this is slowly but surely, it's getting hot, but we're not leaving until it's all done. Now, we're going to take these muffins, pop them out of the pan. Let me get a plate. I need a plate. I'll use this. I'm going to use my one of my bowls. All right, got that right there. And what we're going to do, I'm going to take the back of my spoon and just go through. I'm going to pop them out. You'll see how nice and brown they are on the bottom and light on top. We're going to take them out. Now, you know, excuse me. I guess that was the pepper. You know your oven better than anyone. And if you know there's certain spots in your oven that get a little browner than others, then you may want to turn that pan along, you know, during the cooking time. And the back of my oven gets a little browner than the front. So I know that, but this is okay because we're going to be dipping it in the chowder. Now there's our muffins. Oh yeah. Oh, I'm gonna have to taste one. You know, guys, gotta taste. Woo, nice and hot. Oh yeah. Needless to say, when you bring it out, if you want to add a little butter, you can do that. That's good. Oh, that's good. Now, like I said, you know, you're going to have to look at this, and depending upon how liquidy you like your chowder, then you'll have to make that determination. But because we shredded some of the potatoes and cubed some of the potatoes, kind of half and half, then you've got a good texture going in here with your clams. Now, I'm not, like I said, I'm not going to add all of this. I'm just going to add a little bit of half and half. That's the extra. The recipe calls for 2 cups, but I'm not using 2 cups. I'm going to start with, that was about 1 1/4 cups, just because I want to see how that texture is going to go. And sometimes it depends on the type of potatoes that you're using. These were Yukon Golds. Some people use russets, but you know, it really doesn't matter. I don't think you'd want to use red skins, the red potatoes. And just because they are not quite as starchy as the other potatoes. So you do want a little bit of the potato starch to end up in your chowder. Now, technically, we can put the top on this and give it a few minutes and let it just, I'm gonna kick it up just a little bit, and I'm gonna try to finish up this muffin. Hi, Grandma Sandy. And see what we're up to, girl. You never know what we're into. Oh, I'm eating corn muffins at 11 o'clock in the morning. How about that? But they are good. And actually, the 4th cup of sugar did not make them sweet. And because I typically use a little extra cornmeal. So we've got a good balance of flavor. And that's what we want. Well, I'm letting this come up a little bit. Let's see who else is here. You're right, Sandy. We hope everyone had a great holiday. Now, Victory from Activities TV. Hello, hello. Glad you're here with us this morning. Oh my, they're nice and tender. That's good. Now, I want you to see if I can get you in a little closer. And you can really see the bubble. So you know, you want some bubble, but not, you don't want a hard boil. So we're letting it bubble. And what that's going to do, that's going to also add to the thickening process. So we're letting it simmer, low bubble, low bubble. Oh, yeah. Now, I think at this point, I probably need to do another taste check just because we added a little more half and half. Oh, yeah, that didn't affect the flavor at all. That's good. Just where we want it. Now, you know, I used black pepper because that's what I had. And because sometimes you can find white pepper at places like TJ Maxx or Ross. And I had not seen any for a while. And that's typically where I will pick it up. But, you know, use pepper you have. You know what you put in your chowder. So if you see few little black specks, it's okay. We've got pepper. So our chowder is getting thicker. We want that flavor to be just perfect. And you know, being early in the day, now I'm probably going to serve this for lunch. But if I were going to serve it for dinner, then I would probably add the rest of the half and half. And then that way, because it's going to thicken up as it cools and those potatoes cool, and I'd go ahead and just put the rest of that in. But I'm not going to need to do that just for lunch. So I'm using the bottom of my spurtle. And just think about that, the bottom of your wooden spoon run it across the bottom of your pan, but because that helps to make sure that nothing sticks on the bottom. And if you feel things that are starting to stick, then you know it's time to turn that heat down. There we go. Oh, yeah. Now, you know, we could make this very easily into a fish chowder if you wanted to add, if you had some extra fish, you could throw fish in, you could throw shrimp in and just make it a whole, just a slamming seafood chowder, because, you know, we can do seafood chowder two ways. We can do seafood chowder with a more tomato base, or we can do it with a more white sauce type of mixture, which is what we're doing today. But you know, I love seafood chowder in any form. It doesn't matter which one. But this is going to be nice and creamy, almost like an Alfredo sauce, but not that thick. But it's just, it's delicious. If you have some nutmeg, if you decide you want to add a little pinch of nutmeg, you can certainly put a little bit of that in there. And I don't know if I do or not. I do like nutmeg in mine. So let me see while we're right here, see if I can come across that nutmeg. I know I had some. And that's allspice, cloves, nutmeg. All right, I'm just going to put a dash of nutmeg in. It's just going to add another layer. Woo, it's going to smell good. Just a little sprinkle, okay? Just a little bit. Don't want to get carried away with it, because this is not that kind of dish. But it does add a nice background to your dish. Oh yeah, can you tell how thick it's getting? Not nearly as milky as it looked initially. So that those potatoes are broken down, the clams are ready, and oh my goodness. See our little clams in there? But you notice you can't see the onion, can't see the celery, but it is certainly a part of the background and adds to the flavor. And if you, like I said, if you like a stronger seafood taste, you could use 2 shrimp bouillon cubes. But I think this is going to be enough, because you want the flavor of the clams to come through. Oh yeah. Oh yeah. Woo-hoo. Dark corn muffin. Let's go over here. We're going to get us a cup. And so we can really do some tasting, not just a spoonful. We're going to get my scoop here. And we're going to put some in here so we know what it tastes like. You know, you want to know what it tastes like before you serve it to your family. So let's get a scoop, because I will eat when the big guy eats, but I'm going to get a little extra because I want to have some with you. Oh, yeah. So I'm actually going to turn this off, put the top on it, and let it sit. And I still have this little bit of cream of half and half that's here. And you know, if you decide at the end that you want to add maybe a half cup of actual cream, if you got whole cream, you can certainly do that. And it'll be delicious. Got my corn muffin ready. So we're going to go over here and sit down. Let me get a napkin. Guys, did I show you something? I'm sure I didn't put it on the community page. How many of you remember, see how close I can get you. I don't know if it'll let me flip you, but these are, remember the little cup warmers that you had at the office? Well, this is a cup warmer that I'm using for my candle. So I won't have to have a flame and worry about the flame. And so when you take the candle off, the light goes off. When you put the candle back on, the electricity starts to flow again and allows your candle to melt throughout the day and just it permeates your house, makes your house smell so good. So I had one and I couldn't find it. So I decided I'd pick up another one. So I did. All right, let me get a spoon. I'm chit-chatting here, chit-chatting. All right. Want to see who's here, get to talk to everybody. And there we go. Gonna get you up. Sit here, have a taste. Oh, yeah. Well, we've got our chowder prepared. We have the muffins prepared. And here's our little muffins that we're going to be fixing. Got my soup, my chowder. And this is what I like to do. So I've got my chowder. I'm going to do a little dip in my chowder. Mmm. Mm-mm-mm. Mm-mm-mm-mm. Ronnie, using that cup warmer because I like the candles. I like to have my candle on all the time and daily. And so because of that, I know I can keep it on, don't have to worry about the flame, and yet it still does what it's supposed to do. Yummy. Now, as you're dipping your corn muffin into your chowder, little bits of your corn muffin are going to break into this chowder so that once you take that spoonful, mm-mm, mm, yummy. The clam meat is perfect. It's not rubbery because we didn't let it boil hard. We let it cook and we let it come to temperature, but we did not let it do a hard boil. And our potatoes are just perfect. They just kind of melt in your mouth. You can see them, but they're good. This really is good. I haven't had breakfast, so this is going to be breakfast, and then it might be a little lunch along the way. All righty. Well, guys, I wasn't sure we would be able to get everything done in our hour, but we did. How about that? Woo-hoo! Got everything finished. And this is one of those dishes I'm going to say that you could probably do in your crock pot, but you won't want to put the clams in until the last minute. And that will just give you a chance to have all the good base ready and let it stay for maybe 3 or 4 hours in your slow cooker, and then add the clams last and give them about another 30 minutes to an hour to get nice and hot, and give everything a taste. Hey, Denise, my friend. I see you out there. You got Ronnie, you got Grandma Sandy. So good to see you, Grandma Sandy. This is amazing. It is really good. Well, guys, our first Saturday of 2023, we are ready to go. And we've got a dish here that we've been able to put together in an hour. And I mean, that's the bread and the chowder all ready to go. And you know, part of it, I see you, Tam. Part of it is because number one, we were prepared, and that helped a lot. So this is my suggestion to you is to the day before that you're going to do something like this, make sure that you chop your ingredients, have them ready to go. And you know, I'm even a proponent of making sure that we uh, plan ahead and put a cup of celery and onions into freezer Ziploc bags, put them in your freezer. So when you need them, you can pop them out and throw them into whatever the recipe is that you're going to use. But in this case, I actually did it did it before we got started. So prep work is important. It's also important to make sure that your grocery list is thorough. So because things like clam juice, I would not normally have in my pantry. I might have one, but certainly not two. And so because I don't use it often enough. But the shrimp bouillon is a game changer because I can use that when I'm doing like a shrimp shrimp and pasta, shrimp, whatever it may be, stir fry. You can add a little extra seasoning in there, and it keeps us from having to use the obey. So just keep those things in mind. And for those who can't use those, I certainly understand. And if you know of other products that are out there that are without the MSG, then throw the names of those in the description box so we can share with each other, because I'm sure you're not the only one. There are other people out there who are sensitive to MSG. And so that's the advantage of, if we were doing, say, something shrimpy, then I would have gotten the shrimps raw in the shell, taken the shrimp out, boiled the shells. I know you're thinking, oh my God, that's another hour. Well, we're making our seafood broth, and we want to make sure that we've got good flavor. So that's how we would do it, is to be able to save all of that. And then you throw the shells away and get rid of those. So we've got lots of good things going. I've got some good plans for you over the next quarter, because I have planned for the quarter. I know what I'm doing every Saturday for the quarter. And so we're going to have a good time. We're going to have a good time. And for those of you who are in the newsletter, I hope you got your newsletter with your 1 month for one plan. And for those of you who may not have gotten it because you didn't know, look down in the description box, because it would tell you what to do in order to get a newsletter, because I'm adding recipes, and certainly those who get the newsletter are going to get the month of plans early, in addition to documents that you can use for your grocery list and those kind of things. So I hope you have had as much fun today as I have, because it's always a lot of fun here with family in the kitchen, and it gives us a chance. I'm sitting right here at my bar, and this is where, me and my sisters and my kids, we all gather right here, and this is how we hang over the bar. We're just sitting here and chit-chatting and keeping it going. And so I'm glad to have you here with me. So have an absolutely amazing Saturday. I don't know if you can see, the sun is shining, and I think I'm going to get out in the street a little bit and do a little running around. I've got 2 birthdays that are coming up in this month that I need to do a little shopping for, so I'm going to take care of that. So much love to all of you, and I will see you right here in this kitchen next Saturday, ready to go. So God bless you. Mwah! I'll see you soon.